Hi guys, I hope you're all well. My name's Joe. I'm one of the account managers here at Pitch Hero. I'll be running today's webinar, or this evening's webinar, I should say. Obviously, we're focusing on getting things ready for the 2020 season. The key thing for today's webinar is to just give you a few little hints and tips on things that you guys should be doing or could be doing to get yourselves ready for the start of the 2020/21 season. A few little things that you probably already know how they work. You may have done them before, but you might not have done them for over a year or so because you only do these sort of things once a year. So yeah, as we say, we'll run through those sort of things. What I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to give it one more minute. So I'm going to put myself back on mute. I'm going to give it one more minute, just so that anybody else who's waiting to join can get themselves online and get themselves logged on, ready for us to start. Because it would be annoying if you missed the start of it, sort of thing. So give me one more minute, guys, and I'll be back with you very shortly. Cheers. Okay, guys, I think that's probably ample time for everybody to get online, ready for this. Obviously, it is the evening, so we want to try and rattle through this fairly quickly. For those of you who have joined since I paused myself, my name's Joe. I'm one of the account managers here. You very well may have heard from me in the past or not, I don't know. But I'll be running this evening's webinar. Idea is to run through a few little tips, a few little things that you guys can be doing to help you get yourselves get ready for the new season. Obviously, this season might be under slightly more unusual circumstances, but the stuff that you need to do on the website will remain relatively the same in terms of getting the site ready. Obviously, hopefully, we want the season to be as normal as possible. But here's just a few things basically what we'll be running through, which I'll show you in a second what we're going to talk about. Just little tips for things that you guys could be doing. So just before we get started, just a quick little one on the status of Pitch Hero. Everything's running as usual. We are not as office based as we have been, but we're starting to return back to the office and stuff now as well. So that does mean that the sort of the phone lines for you guys calling us are still not open, but we can call you out if needs be. But majority of support is being dealt with via email, so that's support@pitchhero.com. So please get in touch with the guys if you have any questions or queries or issues that you'd like to talk through. As usual, they'll be happy to help. Or you can book a call with your account manager like myself. Like I said, we are covering across all the accounts still. So everybody who's got an account manager, please reach out and get in touch. And the final point there that's worth mentioning is we are also, just as much as you guys, looking forward to the safe return of sport. As we've mentioned, though, we've done a couple of webinars on a couple of new improvements we've done towards track and trace. So if you've not seen that, give us a shout. We'll send you out the recording. But obviously, we want everybody back. We want everybody playing sport just as much as you guys do, but we want to make sure that that's done safely. And the final thing I mentioned there is Pitch Hero is here to help and support clubs during this difficult time, just as much as we are usually, but more so now with this difficult time, you might have more sort of different pressing concerns. So give us a shout. We're still here and happy to help. Final thing that I mentioned just before I get started on the things we're going to talk about is this. So let me jump into here. This is what we are looking at now, which is the Pitch Hero heat map. Now, you guys may have received stuff on this already. Basically, what this is we're trying to create a bit of a heat map in terms of the people who, well, the Pitch Hero clubs, obviously, because that's the only information that we can gather from you guys. But as you'll see here, all of these little dots on here, the little green dots or the little red dots, are clubs that are returning to or not returning to trading just yet. Basically, what we're doing is we're pushing out a survey every week, just asking you guys to let us know, have you returned to training yet? If you have, have you returned to matches as well, or which teams was it that returned, which sections? Is it just seniors? Is it just juniors, for example? But the good thing about this map is it creates like a nice interactive thing that you guys can go on to, have a click around. So we've got all these clubs up here and whatnot. You can click around and click into specific clubs. So we'll click into this one here. There's Yapham Cricket Club. Tells you that where they're based. Are they training? Yes. Which teams are training? Senior and junior. Are they playing matches? Yes, and it's seniors and juniors again, and a link to their site. Likewise for the clubs that are in red. So Driftfield Hockey Club, for example, are they training yet? No. Are they playing matches yet? No. Just a little graphic like that. That's all we're really creating. Obviously, it's a really key thing for us to be able to see who has returned to training, who hasn't. It's a really nice thing for you guys as members and stuff to see in your local area who's returned and see who hasn't and things like that. So if you get the chance to submit some data, please do so. It's really helpful for us here at Pitch Hero. Head to pitchhero.com/heat-map-live or just to pitchhero.com and you'll be able to navigate to it from there. Click submit your club data or wait for the survey to come through and fill that in and send it out to us. So yeah, that would be great if you guys get a chance to do that. That would be fantastic. But today, let's talk about today. So what we want to walk through, basically, a few little points we'll cover. There's only 3 points. There's a couple of different bits per point, so there's probably about 6 or 7 points altogether. I'll try and get through this nice and quickly so I can answer any questions you've got at the end. So please feel free to type them in as we go, and I'll get to them at the end of all of this. But the first things that we want to look at is preparing your teams for next season. We want to look at managing your members and your membership database. And we want to look at updating your payment products and stuff so that you can have everything ready to go for when things do get started again. Or if they've already started, then great, you can get things up and running nice and quickly. Without further ado, I'll just jump straight into things, I think. Basically, what are a couple of things just quickly before we get going. We're using Pitch Hero Cricket Club, Pitch Hero CC, which is a test website that we've generated for these sort of purposes. But because it's a test website, you'll see things like this. For example, the website traffic, there isn't any. The ranking, we don't have one. Revenue 0 because it's not real people in this site. Traffic, no one. So little things like this you might see as we go along that looks ever so slightly different to your control panel and then the things that you're used to, but the majority of things are exactly the same. If I come across anything as we're going, I will point it out just so that you don't wonder why it looks ever so slightly different. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense. So the first thing that I want to touch on now, while I walk through these things, there'll be varied level of expertise in terms of the attendees of this webinar this evening. So please, if there's something that you are really familiar with that I'm running through, please bear with us because some of the guys on the line might not be as familiar as you are. Some of the guys might never have really seen this admin panel and stuff before. I'll try and whiz through it, but making sure that I'm hitting on the things that people need to know about. But yeah, so there's no real order to what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through in the order that I outlined at the start, but you can do this in sort of any order that you want to, really. As long as these sort of things get done, I would like to think that you're well on your way to be prepared for the season. So the first one that I want to touch on is moving your members between age groups and teams. So this is more along the lines of preparing your teams for next season. So obviously, normally with teams, you click into teams here and you jump into the teams that are here to look at the specific stuff. I will be doing that, but the first thing that I want to do is jump into the membership database and show you how to move people between teams. Now, there is a couple of ways that you can do this, but the main recommended way, if this is the way you've done it in the past especially, is to actually move your members from one team to another. Now, that would be a case of, especially if you've got age groups, this happens a lot. If you're working with just senior teams, it probably doesn't happen as often. But what you might have, and this might be a nice tip for not even necessarily the start of the season, for just in general, what you might have is people bouncing between teams throughout the season. You might play in the third team one week, but the second team or first team the next, and they're short of players and stuff. So this is a useful tip either way. So this is the membership database. I've got a couple more fields enabled than usual, but you should be familiar with this view. Some of you might not be, as I've mentioned. One of the things I would like to mention as well is none of this data that we're showing you is real data. It's all randomly generated stuff. So don't worry about the data that we're showing you. They're not real people. But yeah, one of the things, the first thing is moving people between age groups. So typically what will happen is, for example, your under 14s will become under 15s, under 15s will become under 16s, under 16s, under 17s, etc., 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 all the way down from, however low you guys go to whoever high up you guys go. So, what would be really frustrating is if you had to click into each individual person and move them into their new team one by one, especially when you've got maybe potentially thousands of members in your membership database. Obviously, because this is a test site, as you'll see there, we've only got 97. But what I'm going to show you here is how to move people from one age group to another. So what I'll do is I'll filter down to people in a specific team. So I'll filter down to everybody in our under 16s team, for example. So there you go. We've got some people there, probably not as many as you'd usually have, but there's 15 there, so maybe. So these are all the people that are in that particular team. Now, some sports or some clubs might only move people up every 2 years. So you might not be moving everybody here. It might be a case of selecting everybody in an age group and moving them up, or it might be a case of selecting just some of the people, which is what I'm going to do here, just for the ease. But if you want to select everybody, you just click that button in the top left-hand corner there. That selects everybody. I'm just going to select some. I'll just select the top 5, for example. No real reason why I've selected 5 people, but let's just say, for example, these are the 5 people who are moving up to the under 17s. So I've selected them there. The next thing that I want to do is hover over roles here, around about the middle on that top navigation bar, and click into edit roles. I'll then be shown this page here. So I'm editing the roles of 5 members at once here. And what I would like to do is I would like to add a role of a player, and I'd like to add a role of the player of the under 17s team, because that's where we're moving them up to. So then I'll click OK. I would then like to remove a role and remove a role of the player of the under 16s. So I'm going to do 2 actions at once there, adding them into their new team and removing them from their old team. I'll click save. Now, as you can see in the background here, keep an eye on some of these names. So Tessie, I think that's Reynaldo, as a randomly generated name. So these names here, what you'll see in the background in a second when I click save is that they'll disappear. But that means really because they're no longer under the filter of under 16s. They're now under the filter of under 17s. So if I click save, and we'll give that a second to load. And there you go. All them people have removed. There was 15 before. There's now only 10. If I jump into people who are associated with the under 17s, somewhere in there, we will see their names, but there's a lot more people in there. There's that Reynaldos and Tessie there. So them people have now been moved into that team. So that's a way you can do that, which is a really nice and easy way to move people by bulk, whether that's for the start of the new season or just in general. If you need to move people around, you can do so just by selecting them, editing their roles by bulk, adding what you want them to be, and then removing what you don't want them to be. If you just have 1 or 2 people there, and you can do it that way, but if you just have maybe even 1 person, it is really easy as well to click into, say, Rossi here, for example, click into Rossi's roles, and then just amend them here. So I could just say move Rossi. If I'd accidentally moved Rossi up to under 17s, but they actually need to be in the under 16s, I could add under 16s there, cross off under 17s, click save, and then you'll see just under Rossi's name here, that'll change to under 16s. There you go. So that's how easy it can be as well to move people around. The same applies for coaches and all of that, team admins and stuff. Make sure that you're moving them into the correct team if they need to move. That's the way that we recommend doing it. There is another way you can do it, which I'll very briefly mention, but that's the way we recommend doing it. If you check out our help articles and stuff, that's how you'll be described and how it'll tell you to do it. However, some clubs do just simply change the name of the team, which I'll show you how you can do that, because I need to jump into teams anyways for the next stuff. So that can work too. However, what I'd recommend is if you've done one of them in the past, do that throughout. If you've done the other in the past, do that throughout, if that makes sense. If you start doing one season and one the other, you will end up with a bit of messy data. So pick one and go with it if you've never done it before. If you have done this before, stick with the way that you've done it in the past. So we'll jump into under 17s here. It doesn't really matter which team I'm using in this example. The next thing that I quickly want to show you guys is how to amend the settings and all of the different stuff that you can do. Excuse me while I clear my throat a bit there. Amend all the settings and stuff to do with your team. And this is where basically you'll jump into this particular team. You've just moved all the players into it, for example, and now you just want to check that all the data is correct. So click into the under 17s. Fixtures and results we'll come to in a moment. But I'll jump into the team here, for example. And I'll be giving a little bit of a breakdown of who the coaches and team admins are, who the players are. If you've assigned their position in their player profile, it'll split them up into positions. In this instance, it hasn't. Are they all correct? Yeah, they all look great to me. If they're not, jump back into the membership database through that quick link there and move people around again if you need to. League table and competitions I'll come on to in a second as well. Officials is very similar here. Just check that they're the correct people. And as long as they are, click into officials and make sure that they're listed as they should be, if they should be. As you see, there's nobody here, but you can click manage officials and manage your officials for that team there. Basically just your key contacts for that team, essentially. The next thing, which is the more important one, is the home page. So if you are moving people between teams, this information is likely to change. So these under 17s here may have just become the under 18s, or they may have previously been the under 16s. So you might want to change a bit of the blurb that you've got in here, add in your new team photo, put in a different title and stuff, and just have all of that information up to date. If you're just changing the name of the team, it's not as much that needs to be changed in this instance. You maybe just change that from 7 to 8, for example. And to do that, changing the name of the team, if you click into settings, this is where you could do that. So it's up to you guys how you manage that. I recommend the way that I showed you correctly or properly at the start. This way can be done though, so if you have done that in the past, by all means, just go through and swap them over. Make sure all your team settings are right. Obviously, people have moved now, so these sort of things might need to be changed. Do you need everything to be public, or do you want some of it to be private? Do you want some stuff to be hidden from navigation? So have a play around with them and just check that it all lists correctly. And then finally, I'll not click into it, but social accounts. Make sure you've linked up the correct Twitter accounts and Facebook accounts if you've got separate ones per team. If you haven't, don't worry about that section at all. The final thing on preparing your teams really is that I'd like to show you how to connect to your competitions, how to get them added if we don't already have them in, how to add your fixtures essentially. So I'm going to click back into fixtures and results. Apologies that I'm sniffling as I'm doing this, guys. I have been stricken by a hard case of hay fever this year round, so that's the reason behind that. But here we are, under 17. So we listed a few fixtures this morning when we did this webinar earlier on today, hence the Leeds Cricket Club fixtures that are there. But basically, when you are attaching your team or attaching fixtures to your team, there's a few different options that you have. The first one, which is the preferred way for most, is to connect yourself to a competition. So as you'll see, your team is not currently connected to any competitions. Manage competitions. That clicking manage competitions there takes you to this link here. So it's exactly the same link. Clicking that, if I click into it, will then allow here, and then I'll click join competition. And then basically what I do is I just search for my competition. So if I search, for example, the Yorkshire Cricket League, I think it's the North Yorkshire one. Yep. So the North Yorkshire and South Durham Cricket League, basically you would search for your league. So I'm just pretending that this is our league because this is a test website, obviously. You then click into the league that you, or the division in that league that you guys are a part of. If it displays, click connect. And then you'll then be shown with all the teams in that division who you can connect with. So if my team name was there, I'd connect with them. If it wasn't, I would contact our support team on support@pitchhero.com, and I would ask them to get that added in, get them to resync that and make sure that all the information is displaying correctly. But if my team was there, I just click connect, and then it would populate all my fixtures for me. So I'll head back to where it would be. I would click connect. It would then show me here that this team was connected to the North Yorkshire and Durham Cricket League. And then in my fixtures and results, all the new fixtures linked to that division would be automatically populated. If your division isn't there and you want it to be added, just contact our support team. That's support@pitchhero.com again, and just ask them for a fixture template form. What they'll do is they'll send it out to you. It's just a form that you populate with your information. So basically, grab your fixtures from wherever they're listed, provide them to us. We add in your competition, and then you connect to it and it automatically populates. Then all you've got to do is add in your results on a week-by-week basis, and that'll automatically populate your league tables. It'll automatically understand your goal difference, how many points you guys should get per win, per loss, per draw, for example. So if it's not there, don't worry, you can get it added. But there is a couple of other ways you can add fixtures as well. So that's one way, connect them to your competition. The other ways are if I click add a fixture here, as you'll see here, there's 3 different options. So the top one is what I've just talked you through. And the next 2 are add your own fixtures that aren't part of a competition, or upload a spreadsheet of fixtures that aren't part of a competition. Now, when we say not part of a competition, we don't mean that you guys don't play in a competition. We just mean that not part of a Pitch Hero competition. So if you just wanted to add in some fixtures, not all of them, or just, bit by bit, You can either add them one by clicking add fixtures, or upload a spreadsheet of them by clicking upload spreadsheet, and then you just populate a similar spreadsheet to as you would do if you were getting the competition re-added. Just pop in your fixtures, who's the home team, who's the away team, what time's kick off, and what's the date of it. Copy and paste all that information into a spreadsheet and upload it into the system. The other way, if you want to add fixtures one by one, so you click into the middle option there and basically just populate it like this. So it's really easy to do. So we already added someone for that week, so let's add someone for the week after. Let's say we're the home team, and let's just say here that we're playing against Dewsbury Cricket Club, for example. What fixture type is it? What time does it kick off? What's the date of it? Just fill all of that information in. Typically, you'd only be adding these ones in one by one if it was friendly matches, or if it was a cup game or a tournament game or something that wasn't listed on the system. And then click save, and you will see that fixture has now populated from there. So that's how easy it is to get your fixtures added. One thing that's worth mentioning that stupidly forgot to mention on the webinar this morning, which confused a couple of people, is you also need to make sure that you have your 2020 season listed, or your 2021, or whatever season it is that you guys are moving into. You need to ensure that the date ranges are correct to capture all of the fixtures that you've added to the system or that you're looking to connect to. Otherwise, you will see some issues here and that it might not populate them correctly. So to do that, click into settings on the club control panel on the left, scroll all the way down to the bottom and click into seasons. Don't ask me why it's down there, but that's where we store that information. And then just check that these dates and stuff add up, and check that the name of the season's there. So you might have tons of seasons here from previous years. But if the current one isn't there, or the upcoming one isn't there, click add season in the top right hand corner, give it the correct name, make sure that the date ranges match up with when your fixtures start and when they end. I always recommend adding them to at least one day before the first one and one day after the last one, just so that it captures all of that information within there. Then when you click save, that basically what that does is it gives the website somewhere to display that information. So if you don't have that added, the information is there, but it's got nowhere to display. So you need to add in the new season archive. So hopefully that makes sense. So that's it on preparing your team. So the key things there: move everybody into the correct team, or amend the team information in that respect. Update that team information in terms of the home pages and the settings, and all of that information, and in terms of your competition. So make sure you're connected to the correct competitions for the upcoming season. You've got them added in there if they're not already there, or you've just got your fixtures uploaded or added in one by one, depending on how it is you guys want to get them in there. We can get them uploaded for you, so give us a shout if you need that. So the next thing that I'm going to move on to, and this should be a nice and quick one, is the membership side of things. So really here what I'm looking at is cleaning up your membership database and refreshing your registration and membership forms. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click into the membership database here. Once I'm in there, you'll see what you are probably normally used to seeing and what I showed you just before. So when this finally loads up, I'll show you here. So this is here, obviously, the membership database that you guys will all be used to seeing. Some of you guys might not be as familiar as others, but as I say, I showed you around something on here before. Basically, what you've got here is your members and their information, their profiles, all of the information that they've provided to you. Let's click into Gene here, for example. All of this information here is their sort of registration and membership information. So making sure that all of this stuff's up to date. So what we recommend doing is prompting everybody to update their information on a season by season basis. I also recommend amending your registration forms, which I'll show you first. So I'll show you second, sorry. I recommend amending that form to gather all the information that you need before you prompt everybody. That way, you're not missing out on anything at all. You're making sure that everybody's got the full up-to-date form before you start prompting them and asking them to fill it in. But one thing that's, while I'm in here, that I'll mention to you, which I think is a really useful thing to do on a season-by-season basis, is to just give this membership database a good clean. Some clubs have hundreds, some clubs have thousands of members, and not everybody remains there on a season-by-season basis. So making sure that you remove the people who don't need to be there, making sure that you add in everybody that does need to be there, etc., and making sure that it's just got a good cleanup of data. You don't want any data in there that you shouldn't really be holding on to, etc. So to do that, I've already enabled this field, but you would enable this field on the right-hand side here. Click into fields and use this last logged in field here. Now, this isn't gospel. This isn't telling me that these people are definitely no longer with the club. You can sort it by how long ago they logged in, etc. It's not telling me that they're definitely not with the club, but if I see somebody in here who's not been logged in for a good few seasons, it does ring a little alarm bell. Should they still be with the club or should they not? If they should be, get on at them, get them to log into their account and actually start actively using it. And if they shouldn't be, then you can remove them from the database simply by clicking into them. When that loads up, click into their roles, and then you'll see this button in the bottom left here, remove from club. Just click that button. If I click remove from club here, it'll ask me, do I definitely want to do it? It is you can't reverse this change, so make sure you're doing the right thing. Click OK, and that person will then disappear. As you'll see, they should disappear from the top of that list just as I'm talking. There we go. You can do this by bulk only if you're a primary webmaster. So if you're a primary webmaster, you could select however many people you want really, and use this remove button. If you're not a primary webmaster, you probably won't see that button. So speak to your primary webmaster if you identified a large number of people that need to be removed. You get this again. This is an irreversible change, so please make sure that you're doing the correct thing, and then just click remove members, and that will remove them from the database. So get in there, give that a good clean. The other thing that in my opinion needs a bit of a clean, if you guys are using this, which we really recommend that you should be, is to clean up your registration form on a season by season basis. So the registration form is built by membership fields. So if I click into fields on the left hand side here, these are all fields here that are populating our membership database and populating the information for your members to fill in. Couple of things that I recommend doing here. Basically, just go through and check that all of these are still relevant. I'll show you how this previews the form. If I click into preview registration form, just in case any of you guys aren't familiar with this, I'll click into our players form, for example. Those fields that I created there populate this, which means that people can go in and fill in their information, choose from drop-down menus for certain questions, free-form text for other questions here, and that's how you guys fill in the information that populates your membership database. So keep it on top of that and make sure that all of these fields are the correct stuff that you need to be asking for, and anything that you don't need to ask for, anything that's outdated is removed, and just making sure that that's up to date too. But one thing that I really recommend doing is creating a field like this. So this is our 2020 season agreement. It could be the 2021 season agreement for next time you guys do it maybe, but adding that in, making it mandatory. So I'm saying that this applies to everybody. This is, I'm saying please confirm that you've viewed and agreed to our you've updated your information, you agree to our updated conditions for the 2020 season. Give them the options there, and make it mandatory. Now, the reason why I suggest adding that in is because that's your really quick go-to key indicator that if somebody has filled that in and said, yes, they agree, you know that they've gone in and updated all their information as well, because they have to have done all of the necessary before advancing through that stage. So make all of the things that need to be mandatory, and then add in one of them, and you just change that on a season by season basis. You might not have to change anything really. You might just have to change just that one. Every year you might just change that to 2021, or remove it and add in a 2021 agreement, things like that. But if you haven't got your form added, give the guys in our support team a shout and they'll help you to do that. They'll show you how it's done. It's really easy. It's just a case of grabbing your old school paper form or however you normally manage it and translating it into the computer version basically. But it's a pretty straightforward thing to do. So give that a go and make sure you keep them up to date on a season by season basis as well. So that's pretty much it on membership side of things. Clean up the database and clean up and amend your forms when necessary. The third and final thing that I'm going to touch on, which will be, hopefully I can whiz through this one pretty quickly, is updating your payment products. So some of you guys, and the majority of you guys on here, probably saw this as the bit which you thought, right, this is interesting to find out about, how we do that, how we keep everything up to date in this respect, how we get rid of last season's ones and create this season's ones, and also there's a new feature here which I'm going to show you, which is a really useful thing too. So you probably won't have quite as many products as we do. This is a test site, as we said, so we just create loads of random stuff, but you will have some. So what you probably do have here, let's say for example, this top one here, junior membership test product, that's last season's product, let's say. Everybody's been in who needed to pay for that and have paid for it. Hopefully you've got more than one person paying for it, obviously. But from this menu, what you can do here is you can go in, and I would click these three buttons on the right hand side here, click clone. So you want to clone your product. Once I've cloned that, what it does is it creates it pretty much exactly the same. It creates it exactly the same. I'm going to, pardon me while I've done the wrong thing there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the name of this to 2020/21. And change any of this, if this needs to be changed as well. Basically, you get the opportunity. So it's created that exactly as it was created beforehand, but it's created it in a new way. So it's allowing you to amend it before you set it live. So things that might have changed. Your price might have gone up from 180 to, like that. Your prices might have gone up. So, you've made that change now, and that's all you needed to change. Everything else remains the same. and then you would just create that product. But a couple of things you can do here is you can clone the existing assignments too. So anybody who's previously been assigned to last year's product, if you click that button, they'll automatically get assigned. And the payment form. So if you've added any payment form questions, click that button too, and then you can assign this payment form to this product too. So if I click create product, look how quick and easy that was. I'm just using what I'd done last year, amending it somewhat, and then setting it live again straight away. And as you'll see here, there was only one person attached to that, but if there was more, they'd all be attached, and everybody would be, who was assigned previously would be assigned again this time round. The payment form, I don't know if there was a payment form on this particular product. Yeah, there was. So we already had these sort of things on here, and we want to have that payment form again. As you'll see here, this 2020 season agreement one, if you add that to your product, it means that the guys have to go through and agree to that before they pay. So that's a really useful way of doing it as well. The payment form can be really useful in terms of getting your members to fill in their membership information while paying for their product. So they can't do one or the other, they have to do both. Which means you get your most up-to-date information and you also get your payment for your product, and they do that all in one go, and you get all that information in one go too. So that's something that I'd recommend doing. So that's cloning. The other thing that you want to do once you've cloned that product is jump back into the products list and quickly go in and archive last season's product. So I've now created this season's one. When this finally loads up, here we go. So this season's one will be at the bottom of that list because I've just created it. Now, bear in mind that I created that one this morning, so it has got the same name, so not to be misleading. But this is the one I've just created. So that's there. That's happy days. What I'll do is I will then click into these three dots again and click archive product. That product has now disappeared from that list, and people can't see it, people can't buy it. But you guys as admins, if you need to see that again for reporting purposes, click into filters and enable archive products, and you'll be able to see that again. So that's cloning and archiving, really, really quick and easy. Assigning your members to the product, again, get that done. Clone the assignments from last year, or just add new people in if you need to. As you've seen when I cloned that, you will have seen the assign members button, which is a really useful one. But the next thing that I want to show you, or quickly before I move on to that, sometimes you will just create new products. You may just have a brand new product for this season, totally different to the one previously. You can clone it and amend it as I have done there, or just click this add a new product button here. I'm not going to go through the full process here. It is actually a pretty quick process, but I'll try and keep things snappy for the case of it being in the evening. But basically, you get asked a series of questions that then builds your product. You've probably done this in the past, but if you haven't, have a go at doing this. Click into products, create a product, click the product type, and then there's a little video here of me talking through it there. So if you're not already sick of the sound of my voice, you can click into there and you can listen to me talk you through how to create products and stuff as well. So have a look at that if you haven't done it that way before. What I want to finally show you, and this is my final point, this is a new thing, a new feature, which we think is fantastic. People have been crying out for this for a while, and we wanted to provide it for a while, but we've only just managed to do so. What this is if you've created a product type that is a subscription. Now, this only works on subscriptions. It doesn't work on one-off payments. It doesn't work on payments that are like monthly payments that end at after a certain date. What this is a subscription payment that is continuing month on month or year on year and never ending. It will remain in place until you leave the club or cancel that payment. So what we've got here is a senior membership subscription product. This is, like I say, if I click on edit product, you'll see here, it's £12 a month. There's no end date. There's no certain amount of payments when it ends. It's literally just £12 a month forever. Sometimes your prices go up though, and previously, if you had that sort of never-ending payment cycle created, you wouldn't be able to amend that. You'd have to cancel everybody's subscriptions, and then you'd have to reset them up. That's not the case anymore. So what we've created here is if you click into a particular subscription product or a subscription variant, click in edit product, and then the three little dots here next to the price, click edit. You can change this price now, which you never used to be able to do. So you can change everything about it, and you can update that. Now, obviously, nobody's actually purchased this product because it's not a real site. It's a test website. But if people have purchased that, what that would have then triggered there is it would have sent everybody an email to say, as of your next payment, your price has been increased from £12 to £15. Now, that's just to let them know. In the terms and conditions of the Pitch Hero system, that is allowed. It's the same sort of thing as your phone bill going up or your broadband bill going up. But what that does is it sends out an email to them, and then that does obviously give the guys an opportunity to get back to you and say, look, I'm not too happy about that price increase, I'm going to drop out, or let you know that they're fine with it. But it'll automatically change everybody's next payment to the higher amount. So that's a really nice new feature, something that's not been possible in the past. People have been crying out for that. Really glad to see that it's arrived. I think it's something that'll be really beneficial to clubs, definitely. But that's pretty much it on payments. So a quick run through the payment side of things there. Clone and archive products if that's the way you want to do it. Clone last season's, make any amends, archive last season's, and set the new one live. Assign all your members, make sure everybody who needs to be assigned to a product is. Create your new products. So if there's anything that's new in there that needs to be done, get that created and get that pushed out, and or amend the values of a subscription product if you want to do it that way too. So that's it from me, guys. A quick brief overview of everything there. Prepare your teams for next season. Move those members between the groups, between the teams, or amend the teams accordingly. Connect to your competitions and update all your team information, or at least add your fixtures in manually. Managing your membership, refresh all of your forms, get all of those forms up to date and asking the relevant questions and with those relevant agreements in, and get your membership database cleaned up properly and give that a good cleanse at regular intervals. And then the final thing, payments products, as I've just gone through, clone and archive, make sure everybody's assigned as they should be, create all your new ones, and amend the values of any ones that you need to amend the value of. So appreciate that was pretty quick, guys, a bit of a whistle-stop tour of everything. I can see that there has been some questions that have come through, so I'll move on to them now. If anybody has any questions, now is the time to get them in. I'll answer all these questions and like I say, any more that come through as well. So question from Fran, do you lose all data relating to that person when you remove them? So that depends on the situation, Fran. So for example, what you don't lose is their sort of statistics and stuff on the front end of the site. So if they're a goal scorer, for example, from previous seasons, you'll be able to click back through and see that. If you do want that information removed, we can get that removed for you, so let us know. But by default, it won't remove that, but it will remove all of their personal information. So the personal stuff will be removed, but all of the stuff kind of there, you know, kind of how many appearances they made and how many goals they scored and stuff, that can still remain on the front end. Question by Andrew, by removing members, do you lose them from historical seasons? Funny enough, Andrew, that's exactly the same question there, so hopefully that answered that one as well. You don't remove their stats and stuff in the front end, but it will remove their personal information from the database. Question from James, is a match fee product now available? Not just yet, James. We're so close though. We are 99% done. We are about to set that live. We're hoping it's going to be this month. We're just in our internal testing phase. For those of you that don't know, we're releasing a new match fees product. That match fees product is going to be linked to your fixtures. Again, this is another thing clubs have been crying out for. What that will allow you to do is use the team selection for that particular game to bill players for their time on the pitch. So, you know, if it's £10 for a full start, £5 for a substitute, for example, you'll be able to bill people accordingly and send out prompts that way. So yeah, nearly, James, we're about to set that live. That should be coming very soon. That looks like that's all the questions, guys. So I'm hoping that everybody else has found everything really useful and very informative and understanding. I hope that I didn't go through things too quickly, because I appreciate sometimes on these things, you know, it can be information overload. But you will be sent out a recording of this. It should automatically send you out a recording, letting you know a couple of hours afterwards, letting you know how to access the link to be able to view it again. You can share that link with anybody if you need to. If you haven't received that by the end of this evening or early tomorrow and you need it, give us a shout and we'll send that over to you. That's support@pitchhero.com again. Obviously, for any sort of generic inquiries and queries in general, give us a shout there as well. But that's it from me, guys. So hopefully you found that useful. Like I say, anything else you need to know where we are, please give us a shout. Keep yourself safe out there in your return to training and your return to matches. Let us know how you get on with the Pitch Hero heat map. You know, let us know when you do return. That's really appreciated if you can do that. But yeah, keep doing what you're doing. Make sure you get everything up to date on the site, and all of the best for the upcoming season when that does arrive. So yeah, that's it from me, guys. So thanks for your time. I hope you found that informative, and as I say, give us a shout if you do need anything at all. Cheers now. Bye-bye.